Good evening, everyone. In the previous session, we completed our discussion related to these concepts in the data JPA. What is data JPA? Hibernate versus data JPA, JPA repositories, what is entity, how to map Java class with database table by using annotations, how to develop JPA application, CRUD repository interface methods, purpose of those methods, JPA repository methods, purpose of those methods, and the differences between CRUD repository and JPA repository, implementing pagination, sorting, query by example, working with find by methods, custom queries using @query, what is modifying and transactional annotations, HQL versus SQL, dialect classes, calling stored procedures, timestamping, soft delete versus hard delete, primary keys in the table, how to work with generators to generate the value for primary key column, composite primary key, embeddable and embedded ID, connection pooling, profiling in the Spring Boot, profiles in the Spring Boot, and how to develop custom generator to generate the value based on project requirement. Got it. So today we are going to talk about association mapping. We can also call it as relationships in DB tables. When we are storing the data in the database, we need to maintain some relations between those tables. Okay. When we are trying to store the data in the database tables, we need to maintain some relationships among the tables in the database. Now we can divide DB relationships into 4 types. We can divide DB side relations into 4 types. Okay, what are those 4 types of relations that we can see in the DB? First one is one-to-one relation. Second one is one-to-many relation. And the third one is one-to-many, many-to-one relation, many-to-one relation. And the fourth one is many-to-many relation. Many-to-many relations will be available. When we are working with our database tables, we can see 4 types of relations in the database. What are those 4 types of relations? First one is one-to-one relation. One record in one table will have relationship with another record in the another table. So the simple example here I can say, one person will have one passport. Example, one person will have one passport. One record in the person table will have one record in the passport table. One passport belongs to one person. One person is having one passport. This we can call as one-to-one relation. One record in one table will have a relationship with another record in the another table. That is called as one-to-one relation. Now, next one is here, in order to establish relationships between the tables, we are going to use foreign keys. To establish relationships between tables, we will use foreign keys. What is foreign key? One table primary key will be used as a foreign key in the another table to establish the relation. Here I'm taking one person table and one passport table. Person table will have a relation with the passport table. One record in the person table will have a relationship with another record in the passport table. That is called one-to-one relation. Coming to the most frequently used relation in the projects, that is one-to-many relation. One employee will have multiple addresses. One author will publish multiple books. Okay. One institute, multiple courses. So you can say lot of scenarios belongs to one-to-many relationship. One employee will have multiple addresses, right? Present address will be available and a permanent address will be available for the employee. One employee will have multiple addresses. Now, Here, if you see from the employee table, address table, many relation. If you see from address, multiple addresses are belongs to one employee. Okay, we can say multiple books belongs to one author. That is many to one relation. Multiple books belongs to one author. Okay, multiple courses belongs to one institute. Multiple addresses belongs to one employee. That comes under many to one relation. Then what is many to many relation? In our application, multiple users are available. Multiple users are having multiple roles in our application. Multiple users having multiple roles in our application. Okay. So if multiple users are having multiple roles in the application, then that comes under many to many relation. So when we want to normalize our data, we need to create the tables with the relationship. To create relationship between the tables, we are going to use a foreign key. How many types of relationships are available in the database? There are 4 types of relationships available in the database. One to many. One person will have one passport. So person passport table relation is 1 to 1. Next one is one to many relation. One record will have, one parent record will have multiple child records. That is called one to many relationship. Example, one employee can have multiple addresses. That is called as one to many. The next one is many to one. Multiple books belongs to one author. That is called as many to one relation. The next one is many to many. Multiple users are having multiple roles. That is called as many to many relationship. We can also call it as parent and child relation, guys. Here, one parent record can have multiple child records. That is one to many relationship. So now when we are talking about these relationships, first we need to understand cascade type. Okay, so we are going to see here, when the tables are having relationship in the database, our entity classes also should represent that relation, right? When DB tables are having relationship, when DB tables are having relation, then we need to represent that relation in our entity classes also. We need to represent that relation in our entity classes also. That is called as association mapping. The process of representing DB tables relation in the entities is called as association mapping. Okay, so how to do association mapping in our entity classes? That is what we are going to discuss today. So the process of mapping DB relations, DB table relations in the entity classes is called as association mapping. The process of representing DB tables relation in entity classes is called as association mapping. Okay, guys, the process of representing DB tables relation in entity classes is called as association mapping. Now, when we are going for association mapping, we need to understand 2 important concepts. First one is cascade type. Cascade type, and the second one is fetch type. Cascade type and fetch type. So when we are going to set up association mapping among our entities to represent database relation, first we need to understand what is a cascade type and what is fetch type. Okay, the default cascade type is null, none. Default type is none. Here, fetch type, default type is lazy. Default type is lazy. So what is the meaning of this cascade and fetch type? So whenever we are retrieving a parent record, by default, child records will not be retrieved. So when we have fetch type is lazy, when I'm retrieving my parent record, when I retrieve my employee record, I will get only employee record. I will not get the child records called addresses. That is the default fetch type when you go for Hibernate or when you go for JPA. And the next one, cascade type. Cascade type is none. Whatever the operation that I do on the parent record, that operation should reflect to child record or not depends upon cascade type. Suppose when I delete a parent record, all the childs belongs to that parent also should be deleted. That is called cascade operation. Whether operation on the parent should be reflect on the child record or not, that will be represented by cascading type. Fetch type will represent when to load the child record, whether we need to load the child record along with the parent or we no need to load the child record along with the parent. That will be represented by using fetch type. Okay. When we are representing association mapping in our entities, we need to remember cascade and fetch. What is a cascade? It represents operations on the parent. Operations on parent record should reflect on child record or not. Cascade type will represent operations on the parent record should reflect on the child record or not. Suppose, example, I want to delete child records. Example, when I delete my parent, when we delete parent record, then we want to delete all child records also. All child records of that parent. That means we need to enable cascading type. Cascading type represents whatever the operation we are doing on the parent, that operation should reflect on the child record or not. That is called as cascade. Fetch type. Fetch type, the default fetch type is lazy. It represents whether to load child records, along with the parent or not. Whether to load parent or not. When we retrieve parent record, I want to retrieve all child records of that parent. By default is lazy. Lazy means it is not going to retrieve the child records. If you retrieve the parent record, you will get only parent record. Child record will not come because the default fetch type will be lazy. If you want to make it, then you need to go for eager loading. If you make fetch type as eager, then you need to set the fetch type as eager. Then whenever you load the parent record, you will get all the child records also. When I delete my parent record, I want to delete my child records also. Then we will go for cascade type. Cascading and fetch type will play a major role when we are working with association mapping in our entities. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate one example on this association mapping, that is one-to-many mapping. The most famous and the most useful relationship when we are working in the projects, that is one-to-many mapping. Okay, one record in one table will have multiple records in the another table with a foreign key relation. Okay, one-to-many mapping. One employee will have multiple addresses. One employee will have multiple addresses. I'm going to take that example and I will show you how we will perform one-to-many mapping in our entity classes. Okay, let me create one project. File, new, Spring Starter project. File, new, Spring Starter project I'm creating. So my project number is 11. I'm going to make this as 11th application. Data JPA, one-to-many relation. Data JPA, one-to-many relation. One-to-many application. Click on next. MySQL driver and the data JPA dependency I'm taking. Okay. Click on next. Click on finish. Click on next and click on finish. My project is created. I need the data source properties. So I'm going to copy application.yml. Okay. Let me keep that in the 11th project resources. I'm keeping my application.yml file there. I'm removing dot properties file, and I'm keeping application.yml file, and I have removed dot properties. So this is my database. Okay. Now let me create my entity classes to represent relation between these tables. Okay. So first I'm going to create my class called employee class. In.ashokit.entity, I'm creating a class with a name called employee. One employee can have multiple addresses. So let me create another class with a name called address. Two classes I'm taking. One employee can have multiple addresses. How I will represent that? Through association mapping. First of all, let me represent this as an entity. @entity annotation I'm taking. Okay. @entity annotation I'm taking. So here I need some variables: private integer employee ID, private string employee name, private double employee salary. ID is my primary key. I'm writing @ID, and I want generated value. Okay. As it is a MySQL database strategy, I will give as identity generator. Identity generator I'm giving here to generate the value for my primary key. So this is entity class. Similarly, address class, I want to take the variables private integer address ID, private string city state, string city state country also, if you want you can write it, private string country. Now in this address table, I want to represent address as a primary key. I want to generate that value. For that I'm using @generated value strategy is equal to identity. Okay. So as of now, any confusion guys? Employee table, address table. There are two entities available. As of now, is there anything new? As of now, is there anything new? No, nothing is there. Okay. Now I want to represent the relation. Employee can have multiple addresses. One employee can have multiple addresses. How do we represent? Through our entity classes. That's where association mapping comes into picture. That's where association mapping comes into picture. One employee can have multiple addresses. One employee can have multiple addresses. So here I'm going to take private list of address. Private list of address, I'm going to take this address. Here I'm representing employee can have list of addresses. So what should be the relation between the employee and address? That is one-to-many relation. That is one-to-many relation. Are you guys able to follow me? Are you guys able to follow me? Address is also one entity, correct? Address is also one entity. Employee is also one entity. So if you see from the employee side, you can say that this employee is having list of addresses that is called one-to-many. One-to-many. Here I need to specify mapped by is equal to emp and cascade type is equal to all. That means whatever the operation I do on the parent, I want to propagate that operation to child records also. That means when I insert parent record, I want child records to be inserted. When I delete parent record, I want child records also to be deleted. That's why I'm setting cascading type as all. I'm setting cascading type as all. ID generated value strategy is equal to generation type dot identity. I want to generate the primary key value for the ID. And the employee is having multiple addresses. So if you see from employee side, employee is having one-to-many relationship with the addresses. When you see from the addresses, multiple addresses are belongs to one employee. Multiple addresses are belongs to one employee. Here we are going to specify many to one. Here we are going to specify many to one. If you look at address, one address belongs to one employee, many to one. Multiple addresses also can belongs to single employee. So how we need to identify that which address is belongs to which employee? To identify which address belongs to which employee, we are going to specify join column. The join column, employee ID will be a foreign key in the address table. We are going to specify join column is equal to employee ID. That means employee table primary key column will be represented as a foreign key in the address table. Okay, every address will have a employee ID to represent this address belongs to which employee. So now here employee is mapped to this address. Employee is mapped to address. So there is a relation between employee and address. One employee can have multiple addresses mapped by employee. This address is mapped by employee. So whatever the variable name we are giving here, same variable name we need to give to represent that these addresses are mapped by employee. How it is mapped? The addresses are having many to one relation. One to many, many to one. If you look this relation from employee, this is called one to many relationship. If you look this relation from address side, it is called many to one relation. Are you guys able to understand the association mapping? Are you guys able to understand the association mapping? Come on, guys. What is mapped by? Mapped by will represent these addresses are belongs to which employee. So here these addresses belongs to which employee, that will be represented by this employee here. This mapped by employee is representing this variable. That means this employee is representing the address. Employee ID is acting as a foreign key between employee and address table. Employee ID is a primary key in the employee table. Address ID is a primary key in the address table. So how to represent the relation between the employee and address? That's where foreign key comes into picture. In the address table, employee ID will be maintained as a foreign key. For that we are using join column. For that we are using an annotation called join column. Join column annotation is used to represent what is the foreign key in the address table. So in the address table, employee ID will be available as a foreign key. Are you guys clear? Sir, here, when I write employee ID variable like this, in the database, it will maintain as employee underscore ID. When I'm writing employee ID here, in the database, it will maintain that as employee underscore ID. That's why in the join column, I'm writing employee underscore ID. In the join column, I'm writing employee underscore ID. Clear with my point? Okay. Yeah. So employee is having one-to-many relation with the address, cascade type all, and address is having many-to-one relationship with the employee with the foreign key as a join column, employee ID. Now, let me write setters, getters for all these variables. I'm writing setters, getters for all these variables to set the data and get the data. Here also, I'm writing setters, getters for all these variables, select all, generate. Okay, perfect. Now, employee is one table, address is one table. the relation is one to many. One employee can have multiple addresses. Let me create repositories to perform the operations. EMP repo, EMP repository. So I want to extend from JPA repository, implements JPA, extends JPA repository. It is extending from JPA repository, which is employee. The ID, it is an integer type. Primary key type is integer. Similarly, I need to go for address repository. Similarly, I need to create one repository for address table. New interface. I'm going to specify address repository. This address repository will be extending the properties from JPA repository. Extends from JPA repository. This repository will be using address as a entity and data type with the primary key is integer only. Address repository we are using and employee repository we are using. This is our address entity. This is our address entity and this is our employee entity. All right, guys. Address entity and employee entity. Perfect. Good. Next one. I want to insert the record into the table. Okay. So I want to insert a parent record and two child records. One parent can have multiple childs, right? So first let me create the object for employee. Let me create the object for employee. Employee E1, employee E is equal to new employee. That is my first entity class. E dot setup. ID will be generated with the generator. E dot setup. I'm taking it as Raja. E dot setup. Name I have given. Salary I'm giving as some 4,000 like this. This is my employee object. Okay. Now address objects. Address. Address. A1 is equal to new address. A1 dot set ID will be generated. City HYD. A1 dot state Telangana. A1 dot set country, that is India. Okay. Now, so here, if you observe, I am having one address. If you observe here, I am having one address. Country, I'm giving this as India. This address belongs to which employee? Set employee of E. So if you see in the address table, the reference of the employee is available. So when I am creating the object for address, setting the data, this address belongs to which employee? This address is a child for the employee, right? Who is the parent of this address? The parent of this address is employee. Address A1. So similarly, I need to go for address A2. A2. A2 dot set city. A2 dot set state. A2 dot set country. A2 dot set employee. So this address belongs to which employee? Okay. This address belongs to which employee? Here I am giving city. City I am giving as some Guntur. State I am giving as AP. Country is India. A2 dot set employee of E. This is address 1 record and this is address 2 record. This address 1 belongs to employee object E. This address 2 also belongs to employee object E. Address 1 belongs to this employee. Address 2 also belongs to this employee. Okay, guys. Now I want to save the record. Do I need to save all the 3 records, or if I save the parent record, that is sufficient? Okay, guys. Now here E dot set addresses. So addresses are 2 addresses available. One is arrays dot as list of A1 comma A2. Arrays dot as list of A1 comma A2. This is address list. E dot set address list of that address list. So here I am creating my parent object. Here this is child 1. and child 2. These two childs are represented as one collection. That collection I am setting to my parent. If you see in the employee list of addresses, one employee can have list of addresses. So here I'm setting employee dot set address of address list. Okay. Finally, I'm going to get context dot get bean of employee repository. Context dot employee repository dot class. That means the implementation object of employee repository we are going to get. With this employee repository, I'm going to call employee repository dot save of employee. Now guys, can you tell me how many records will be inserted? System.out.println records inserted. Can you guys tell me with this configuration, how many records will be inserted? Only one record will be inserted or 3 records will be inserted? Only one record will be inserted or all the 3 records will be inserted? One employee and 2 addresses, because our employee table having addresses also, right? Employee table is having addresses also. So I'm calling employee dot save. Employee record I'm saving. In the employee data available as well as address data is also available. Here I'm saying that setting addresses to employee. Setting addresses to employee. Setting addresses to employee. So when I'm saving my employee object, employee data, address 1, address 2. So for this employee, addresses also will be stored. For this employee, addresses also will be stored. Okay. Now let's try to run this application and check it. Before going to do this, application.yml, DDL auto, I'm giving as create. If any tables are already available, let's drop the tables and create the tables again. Meanwhile, let me open my MySQL workbench. Meanwhile, I'm opening my MySQL workbench. It is a client to communicate with the database. Yep. So I'm using my database, use SBMS 27, show tables. So there are some tables are available, Hibernate, sequence, address, employee, account, like that. But here I'm using DDL auto as a create. So definitely tables which are available with the same name will be deleted and will be recreated. Employee table, address table. Employee repository, address repository. Here, first I'm creating object for employee, I'm setting the data. I'm creating object for address and setting the data. First address object, and this is my second address object. 2 addresses I'm converting into one list object. That list I'm setting to the employee. Employee.set addresses, address list is there. Then I'm getting the employee repository bean. I'm calling employee repository.save. Employee object I'm inserting. Employee is having 2 addresses also. Let us see the behavior. Right click, run as boot application. I'm running my Spring Boot application. Now guys, see here, created address table. Earlier, whatever the tables are available, it has dropped them. Created address table, created employee table, added foreign key, employee ID, references employee ID. So in the address table, employee ID is added as a foreign key. Then it inserted the record into employee table, then inserted the record into address, second record also inserted into address. Go to the tables here, select star from employee, that is my parent table. If you see select star from employee, employee record is inserted, employee ID 1, employee name, employee salary. Select star from address, select star from address table. Whenever you select from address, can you see there are 2 records inserted into address table along with employee ID. Now easily we can understand which address belongs to which employee, because there is a relation between employee and address with the employee ID as a foreign key. Employee ID is a primary key in the employee table. Employee ID is a foreign key in the address table. There is a relation. One employee can have multiple addresses. If you go to employee table, here employee record is available. If you go for address table, here address records available. 2 addresses are belongs to same employee ID. 2 addresses are belongs to same employee ID. Are you clear? Someone is asking, why are you creating objects? Why don't you use auto wiring? Who is that guy? Sailaja. Sailaja, please remember, auto wiring we will use only for Spring Beans. My employee and address are not Spring Beans. These are just entity classes. Employee is just an entity class. It is not a Spring Bean. Address is not an entity. It is a Spring Bean. If they are Spring Beans, we can go for auto wiring. They are normal entity classes. So we are creating object by using new operator. Please, I told you several times the same concept. If the class is a Spring Bean, then IOC container will create the object. We can get the object by using auto wiring. But these are not Spring Beans. These are entity classes. Okay. We will create the object to set the data. Are you guys understood what I have done now? Are we able to establish the relation between the tables, guys? Are we able to establish relation between the tables? Yeah. Someone is asking why you did not use a table annotation. I think these people are sleeping when I'm explaining the first and second classes in the data JPA. These guys literally slept when our classes happened. I told very clearly, @table annotation is optional. If you don't write @table annotation, it will consider a class name as a table name. If you don't write @column annotation, it will consider variable name as a column name. I already told this. Same question you are asking again and again. Okay. What if I want to see the address as well in the employee table? Then there is no use of going for relationship. If you keep everything in the single table, then there is no use of going for relationship. Alokar. I think you people did not complete your Oracle classes properly. These relationships you will understand in the database classes. Okay. If you don't want to create separate table for address, everything if you want to keep in the same table, then 2 records you need to maintain in the employee with the same data. Employee data is same, only address data will be different. That will become redundant data in the database. To avoid redundant data in the database, we are going for normalization. Please attend Oracle classes once again to understand what is normalization, what is relationship, how to establish the relationship and all. How do we know we are performing one-to relationship to Hikari connection pool? Why connection pool required to know that whether you are doing relationship or not doing relationship? Connection pool will never know that whether you are doing relationship or not non-relationship. Connection pool will just give you connection to communicate with the database. That's it. Whether your entities are having relationship or does not have the relationship, connection pool will not care about it. Why cascade type all? I will explain you why cascade type is all. I already theoretically I explained cascade type. whatever the operation I want to do, whatever the operation I do on the parent, I want that operation to be done on the childs also. For that cascade type all. Okay. Perfect, guys. Yeah, I think you people are not good in the relations in the database. So you guys are asking a lot of questions. First, let me complete, then I will clarify. Here, guys, I'm able to insert employee record along with the child records. Okay. Now let me change this from create to update. Tables are already created. I'm giving DDL auto create. Okay. Now let me comment this code. Let me comment this code. I want to delete my employee, guys. I want to delete my employee. Let me go for emp repository dot emp repository. I want to delete. I want to delete a record by using this employee repository. emp repository dot to delete by ID. Based on the primary key of the employee, I want to delete a record. Based on the primary key of the employee, I want to delete a record. Delete by ID. Employee repository dot to delete by ID. When I delete a parent record, what will happen to child records, guys? When I delete a parent record, in this scenario, what will happen to my child records? When I delete my parent record, child records will be deleted or child records will not be deleted. When I delete my parent record, child record will be deleted or child record will not be deleted. Come on. Will be deleted. Why? Because I have given cascade as all. Whatever the operation I do on the parent, that operation should reflect on the child also. If I remove the cascade option, if I delete the parent, only parent will be deleted, child will not be deleted. But when I delete the parent, I want to delete the child also. For that, I'm giving cascade type as all. Okay. So employee repository created and employee repository dot delete by ID. If you see in the employee table, there is one record with ID 1. If you see address table, there are 2 records available with employee ID 1. So employee ID 1 is used for the 2 records. That means these 2 addresses are belongs to one employee. Now I am deleting that employee. On the employee, we are having a relation with address 1 to many. I'm giving cascade is equal to all. Cascade is equal to all means all the operations which I perform on the parent, perform same operations on the child also. Right click, run as boot application. Observe the console, which queries our application is executing in the background. Can you see only parent is deleted or child is also deleted? Only parent is deleted, all the childs also deleted. First deleted the child records, then it deleted the parent record. Why? Cascade is available. Cascade is all. Whatever the operation I do on the parent, that operation should reflect on the childs also. First child records are deleted, then my parent record is deleted. Okay. Go to the table and see the data. Select star from employee. Employee table is empty. Select star from address. Address table is also empty. So because of the cascade, when I delete the parent, all my childs also deleted. When I delete my parent, all the childs also deleted. Now let me insert one more record. I hope you understand what is the cascade. Now let me uncomment this code. Let me insert one record. Let me insert one record. I'm creating employee object and I'm setting the data. For one employee, 2 addresses are available. I'm saving employee data. I commented the delete method. Run as boot application. I'm inserting one employee with 2 addresses, guys. I'm inserting one employee with 2 addresses. So parent record will be inserted and child records also will be inserted because there is a relation between parents and child. 1 to many. One employee can have multiple addresses. See here, employee data inserted, address data also inserted. Go to the database, select star from employee, select star from address. Okay. We are able to insert. Now, do you understand what is a cascade? Do you understand what is cascade? Yes, we defined cascade as all. Someone is asking where you have defined foreign key. So this is a foreign key. Join column annotation I'm using to represent foreign key. Address having employee ID as a foreign key, which is referencing from employee table. In the address table, employee ID will be available. That is a foreign key only. Employee ID is a primary key in the employee table that is acting as a foreign key in the address table. Okay, someone is asking where you defined a foreign key. This annotation represents a foreign key. Right. One record is inserted, guys. Now let me try to retrieve the record. Okay. Employee repository dot get by ID. Employee ID is 2. So what is the employee ID we have currently? First time one record inserted, we deleted. Now there is an employee record in the table with ID as 2. Now I am using employee repository dot get by ID or find by ID basically. Employee repository dot find by ID 2 is the ID of the employee. Employee repository dot find by ID. Guys, when I try to fetch the employee record, only employee record will come. Employee address records also will come. Will it retrieve only parent record, or it will retrieve child records also? Will it retrieve only parent records, or it will retrieve child records also? Child record will retrieved, or child records will not be retrieved? Come on, guys. Will it retrieve the child records, or it will not retrieve the child records? Can we try that? Run as boot application. I'm commenting the save method, delete method. I'm just calling find by ID method. Run as boot application. Now see the query which is generated. Now see the query which is generated. Select employee salary from employee where employee ID. It is retrieving only parent record, or it is retrieving the child records also? It is retrieving only parent record, or it is retrieving the child records also? It is retrieving only parent record because of fetch type is lazy. What is the default to fetch type here, guys? The default to fetch type is lazy. That's why it is getting only parent record. It is getting only parent record. When I retrieve the parent, I want to retrieve the childs also. Then you need to specify fetch type. Then you need to specify fetch type. Fetch type. Cascade type is cascade is equal to cascade all. And you need to specify fetch is equal to eager. The default fetch type is lazy. When the default fetch type is lazy, when we retrieve the parent record, it is giving only parent record. Now I want to retrieve parent plus parent childs also. Then I am going for fetch type is equal to eager. What is the default fetch type, guys? In the JPA or Hibernate, what is the default fetch type? The default fetch type is lazy. That means it will retrieve only parent record. Fetch type is applicable for the retrieval operation. Cascade is applicable for non-select, insert, update, delete. Okay. Now go for application.java. Before going to execute it, first check. It retrieved the record only from parent table when we use default fetch type as lazy. Now I changed the fetch type to eager. Now go to console. I changed the fetch type to eager. Then go to console. Now select employee. Can you see address records also it retrieved? Left outer join with address. Left outer join with address where employee ID is equal to given value. Employee ID should be equal to address employee ID. When I give fetch type is equal to eager, it is applying a join and it is retrieving both records. Employee record based on the employee ID, address records based on the employee ID, it is retrieving. Now, do you understand what is a fetch type? Do you understand what is fetch type? Do you understand what is fetch type? Yeah. Do you understand what is cascade and what is fetch type? What is the meaning of cascade? When we perform some operation on the parent, that will be reflected on the child when you enable cascade. The default fetch type is lazy. That means it will retrieve only parent record. When you mention the fetch type is eager, along with the parent, it is retrieving child records also. It is retrieving child records also. Are you guys clear? Fetch type eager, fetch type lazy. Are you guys clear? Fetch type eager, fetch type lazy. Understand? Suppose I'm going to retrieve address record based on address ID, then what will happen? Okay. I'm going for address repository is equal to context dot get bean of address repository dot class. I want to get the address record based on the address ID. So see here, I'm trying to retrieve my child record, guys. I'm trying to retrieve the child record. Address repository dot find by ID of 3. I think address ID 3 is available in the database. Address ID 3 is the starting value. Address repository dot find by ID. Okay. Now guys, tell me, when I retrieve address record, what will happen? Will it retrieve only child or it will retrieve the child plus parent? First of all, in the address, did I specify anything? Only child, child with parent. I'm trying to retrieve my child record, guys. Address repository dot find by ID of 3. All are giving wrong answer. All are giving wrong answer. If you apply your common sense, you can tell that. When I'm retrieving the address record, you know that in the address already employee column is available, employee ID column is available, right? When you go for employee table does not have any address relation information. That is the reason default fetch type is lazy. It retrieved only employee data. Wantedly, I made the fetch type as eager, then it retrieved parent plus child. But when you go for child table already having a parent information, right? Why it will retrieve only child? It will retrieve parent also because the child table contains the parent record information, right? The reference of the parent is available now. When you retrieve address, it will retrieve the parent also because parent reference already there in the child table. All are giving the wrong answer. Only child, only child. See here, why only child? Child table already having the reference of the parent, right? How? So that means when I execute a query, it will retrieve only these 4 columns. It will skip the last column. How it will skip the last column, man? When I'm retrieving select star from address, is it giving the employee data or it not giving the employee data in the address table? There are 4 columns, 5 columns available. When I execute select star from address, it will retrieve only these 4 columns. It will retrieve that parent column ID also. It will retrieve the parent column ID also. Common sense you need to apply, guys. Run as boot application. See, I'm trying to retrieve the record from address table based on the address ID. See the query. Select address record from the address table, and employee table where address ID is equal to given value. Left outer join employee table. Join is applicable. Join is applicable to retrieve that data. Are you getting my point? So when you retrieve the child record, it will retrieve the child record plus parent record. When you retrieve the child record, it will retrieve child record plus parent record. But when you retrieve parent record, it depends on the fetch type. When I retrieve child record, it will retrieve child record plus parent record. When I retrieve parent record, it depends on fetch type. Okay, good. Find by ID of address. When I use find by ID of address, it is retrieving address data as well as employee data. It is retrieving address data as well as employee data. Are you clear with my point? First, I tried inserting the parent. When I insert the parent, child is also inserted. I tried to retrieve the parent. Default fetch type is lazy. Only parent record will come. When I make the fetch type is eager, parent plus child records are coming. When I delete parent, parent plus the child is also deleted because of cascade. I am retrieving child record plus parent record will come because child record is having the reference of the parent. Child record is having the reference of the parent. Okay, let me give this example how I have mapped one-to-many relationship. Employee class I have taken. Here you need to write the setters getters. Instead of writing the setters getters, you can use @data. That is a Lombok annotation. And this is my address. My address table. My address is referring to many to one of employee. My address is referring to many one of the employee. Here I'm giving @table @data to generate setters and getters. And here I'm going for repositories. Here I'm going for repositories. You can create a separate package, guys. By mistake, I created in the base package. I forgot to give the new package name. You can give the new package name so that it will be created in a separate package. Employee repository available and address repository is also available. All right. Now this is my start class in which I have done insertion plus retrieval plus delete. Okay. This is the example which we'll talk about one-to-many mapping. One employee can have multiple addresses. When we are representing one-to-many mapping, here we need to use annotation called @one-to-many. Cascade is equal to all. Whatever the operation I do on the parent, those operations should reflect on the child also. Fetch type, the default fetch type is lazy. Only it will retrieve the parent record. If you want parent plus childs, then you need to mention fetch type as eager. Okay. Whenever you retrieve the parent record, retrieving the child records or retrieval of child records depends on the fetch type. When you delete the parent record, deletion of the childs depends upon the cascade. When you retrieve the child will retrieve the parent also because parent reference will be available with the child record. Okay. I want you to practice this one-to-many before coming to tomorrow's session. Okay. So one-to-many, many-to-one. If you see from employee, it is one-to-many. If you see from address, it is many to one. Tomorrow I will show you one-to-one relation and many-to-many relation. One-to-many, many-to-one, both are same. If you see from one side, one-to-many. If you see from other side, many-to-one. One-to-one and many-to-many, that I will show you in the tomorrow's class. All right. Good, guys. Good. Okay. Thank you. With this, I'm stopping for today. We'll discuss in the tomorrow session. People are asking, what will happen if I delete only one child? You try that and let me know. You know how to delete the record, right? So you develop this example. You delete one address record based on address ID. You observe what is happening. People are asking, if I delete one child, what will happen? You try that and you let me know. You know how to delete a record, right? You can try that and you can let me know. What will happen if I don't give cascade? Please remove the cascade operation and try to delete the parent and try to insert the parent. You need to do that experiment, man. I have given the cascade. If you don't give the cascade, what will happen? You try this. You develop this example. You understand what is happening when you keep cascade, when you don't keep cascade. Why are you using identity? You missed generators class. Please refer generator notes. You will understand why I am using identity generator. Mohanta, I clearly explained what is the purpose of identity generator in the class. Please go through that notes. You will understand that point. Okay, good. Thank you, guys. With this, I'm stopping for today. We'll continue in the tomorrow's class. Please practice this example before coming to tomorrow. Otherwise, you don't understand. Relationships are very, very important. Notes I'm uploading in another 2 minutes. So please go through that and practice.